Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the November 2nd, 2022 public hearing of the Calvert County Planning Commission. We will begin the meeting with item 1 on the proposed agenda. Roll call. Vice Chair Kernan.
Here.
Commissioner Jones.
Here.
Commissioner Freeland.
Here.
Commissioner Toohey.
Here.
Commissioner Dr. Holler.
Here.
Commissioner Williams.
Here.
If you could all please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I will now turn the floor over to Mary Beth Cook, Director, Department of Planning and Zoning, to introduce staff and go over the rules of etiquette for the public hearing.
Good evening. I'm Mary Beth Cook, Director of Planning and Zoning. I didn't prepare a list of staff, but I'll try to catch everyone. With us this evening is the Planning Commission Administrator, Tamara Blake-Wallace, and with her is Lisa Shepard, who is filling in as our moderator. We have Becky Parkinson as the Planning Commission Clerk. We also have John Mattingly serving as our County Attorney for the Planning Commission, and Jenny Plummer-Welker, Long Range Planner. We also have the County Administrator here this evening, Mark Willis, Carolyn Sunderland, Deputy Director of Planning, Judy Makel, Deputy Director of Zoning, and we have some help out in the hallway, Jess Gattano and Kat Lockwood, both planners in our department. So the purpose of this public hearing is to provide the public an opportunity to comment on the proposed changes to the 2019 Comprehensive Plan. This hearing is being held per the Board of County Commissioners' adopted guidelines for conduct at public hearings and meetings per Resolution 6-89. This hearing has been properly advertised as required by law. The board adopted a resolution in 1989 intending to maintain the order and decorum of governmental processes. A copy is found on the table back outside the door. The Ethics Commission has asked that we remind speakers at public comment that lobbyists, including those who seek to influence public policy and lobbyists, must require an advance. Since this public hearing is being held virtually and in person, the public can attend by viewing the live stream on the county's website. However, if you wish to speak, you must either sign in on the sheet to my left or use the raised hand function if you're attending by Zoom. Or you can call in at 888-475-4499 or 877-853-5257 and enter the meeting code 858-5579-4151. If asked for a passcode, hit the pound sign and then listen for the board's meeting for the time to speak. When the floor is open for public comment for this hearing, those in attendance will be called upon in the order they signed up, and those calling in will need to press star 9. Speakers calling in will be identified by the last 4 digits of their phone number and unmuted when called upon. Speakers will be asked to state their name and address and whether they are speaking on behalf of a group or themselves. Speakers who are providing comments as individuals will be allocated 2 minutes. Comments being made by designated representatives of a group will be allotted 5 minutes. And I'll be sitting right next to the microphone with the timer and will let you know when you have about 30 seconds left. At this time, Jenny Plummer-Welker is going to take us through the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Beth. Good evening, Jenny Plummer-Welker, Long Range Planner. With me this evening for the Long Range Planning staff, we have Jessica Gattano, Planner 2, and Kat Lockwood, Planner 1, who greeted the attendees out front. I'd like to recognize the Communications and Media Relations staff for their assistance in the public outreach for this evening's public hearing. And I'd like to recognize the Technology Services GIS staff for their assistance in preparing maps for the amendments. The purpose of the public hearing is to consider and receive comments on the proposed amendments to the Calvert County Comprehensive Plan, which was adopted in August 2019. The proposed amendments would reduce or eliminate the future expansions of the town centers for Huntingtown, Lusby, Prince Frederick, and Solomons. The Board of County Commissioners held 2 work sessions in June 2022 with staff to discuss discuss amending the comprehensive plan. The board decided to retain the future expansions for the town centers of Dunkirk, Owings, and St. Leonard, and directed staff to initiate the process to amend the comprehensive plan for the other 4 town centers, Huntingtown, Prince Frederick, Lusby, and Solomons. Staff met with you in July 2022 to inform the Planning Commission about the board's directive. And then we met in August for a work session, and staff has met with you each month since to give you updates. At the meeting in August, the Planning Commission directed staff to send the proposed amendments to agencies for review and schedule a public hearing and notify the agencies and adjoining jurisdictions at least 60 days in advance of the public hearing. Staff distributed the proposed amendments as directed, requested comments on the proposed amendments, and informed the agencies and adjoining jurisdictions that the public hearing would not be held prior to November 1st. And I just want to mention for the memorandum that you have this evening that includes the public hearing notice, the table listing the proposed sections for the amendments, comments that were received from the agencies by October 14th, comments received from the public by October 14th, procedures for public comment, and the presentation slides. Since then, for the comments that we received between October 15th and close of business yesterday, you received those from both, and then the comments that we received between close of business yesterday and close of business today. Those comments will be included in the Planning Commission's future November agenda packet so that they'll be available for the public to view also. Now to begin the presentation by staff. The comprehensive plan identifies 9 town centers. 2 of them are the municipalities of North Beach and Chesapeake Beach, which have their own planning and zoning authority. The other 7 town centers are controlled by the county commissioners. They include Dunkirk, Owings, Huntingtown, Prince Frederick, St. Leonard, Lusby, and Solomons. In the work sessions held on June 7th and June 28th, the Board of County Commissioners decided to retain the future expansions for Dunkirk, Owings, and St. Leonard, and then directed staff, and they're identified in the red, whereas the ones that are not changing, do not have proposed changes, are in blue. The ones in red are proposed to be amended: Huntingtown, Prince Frederick, Lusby, and Solomons. I'd like to note that the future expansions that are noted in the comprehensive plan do not happen automatically. They are a formal process that must be followed to make those amendments through the updates to the town center master plans and their town center maps, plus the countywide zoning map. So first we'll review the town centers very briefly with no changes. That includes Dunkirk, so the future expansion to the northwest, which is the Dunkirk District Park in the northeast, stay the same. For Owings, the future expansion across Maryland 260 stays the same. And for St. Leonard, the future expansion, which was approved in the St. Leonard Master Plan update, would stay the same. Now for the ones that are proposed to be amended. We'll look at Huntingtown first. The map shows on the right-hand side, on the east side of Maryland 2-4, the area in the hatched green is the future expansion area that's proposed to be removed. That area includes land that's zoned rural commercial, residential district, and rural community. And it includes the Huntingtown High School as noted, and continues south to the church property at the southeast corner of Maryland 2-4 and Cox Road. So in this case, it would remove the expansion in its entirety. There would be some minor adjustments as noted on the west side for following parcel boundaries. The close-up on the left is from the master plan as it's adopted. Next, for Prince Frederick, the map on the left is from the countywide map in the current adopted comprehensive plan. along with the map on the right that shows the phasing for Prince Frederick that's in the adopted plan. The dark purple area is the current town center boundary plus phase 1, and the light purple is the future expansion for phase 2. Moving on, the map on the right is the map we just looked at, so that's the adopted map. The map on the left is the proposed change, so it reduces the amount of expansion area. The bright purple is the current town center area, and the light purple is essentially the phase 1 that would be the future expansion area. Plus there's a small sliver on the east side of Prince Frederick Boulevard south of Stokely Road. And then there's some parcels that are currently split by the utility corridor. Those would be on the southwest side. They would be included in the expansion. Moving on to Solomons and Lusby, the map on the left is from the countywide map in the comprehensive plan. The hatched area between Lusby and Solomons is the potential future expansion area. The county commissioners requested that that be removed. They were interested in retaining the expansion area to the northeast of Lusby, which is the Patuxent Business Park, the park and ride, and the storage units, so that area is zoned I-1. And then for Solomons, the comprehensive plan notes to expand the town center to include the entire east side of Dow Peninsula. And that is proposed to be removed, and that is in the green hatched area on the map. This table shows the proposed amendments in each section. They include the executive summary where there's a map, the table of contents, which mentions phasing of Prince Frederick. Chapter 3 has the majority of the proposed amendments. They're both text amendments and map amendment for 2 maps. And then transportation, it's the functional road classification map. There are no proposed changes to the classifications. It's just the map includes silhouettes of the future expansion areas. So that would be reduced. This is the current future land use map in the adopted plan. And then this is the proposed future land use map in the for the proposed amendments. So the areas that were previously noted as a town center around Prince Frederick, they would either be identified as residential, which is identified already for some of the areas outside the expansion area, or in the case of the employment center along Stafford Road as an industrial area. It's the closest land use category, and the comprehensive plan talks about a variety of different types of industrial, including mixed use. And then in the Solomons and Lusby area, those are also either residential or industrial. Looking at this map, we've seen it just a few moments ago. This is the adopted Prince Frederick phasing map. It shows phase 1, phase 2. This is the proposed map that would reduce that phasing to the light purple area. That concludes our look at the maps. I will note for the functional road classification, there's a minor adjustment for the Prince Frederick area so it matches that large scale map. There's a few little slivers on the southeast and southwest side that need to be corrected so it matches that larger scale map. At this point, I just want to note the next steps. These don't necessarily happen all tonight. It depends on what the Planning Commission wishes to do. But between now and when you make a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners to hold the public hearing, so that's what we're doing this evening. And then at the conclusion of oral testimony to decide whether to close the record or to keep it open. If you keep the record open, you need to identify how long you're keeping the record open. At some point, close the record, discuss the comments and the proposed amendments, and then vote. On the proposed amendments, the Planning Commission would approve them, and then you'd recommend adoption by the county commissioners. So that our agenda's very structured, but we're going to be going to testimony by everyone by the order they signed up, and then by the order they raise their hand in Zoom, At this point, I'd be glad to take any questions from the Planning Commission.
Commissioners, the floor is yours.
One question about Huntingtown. Our original vote on Huntingtown was to include the high school in priority funding, correct? That was the original vote for us.
I don't know what the original vote, but at one point in time, the Planning Commission had voted to include just the high school.
Just the high school. Yeah.
That is correct.
And then that went away and it was changed, and then it was changed again. So I just want clarification that was the original vote was to just include that high school. And I believe that's right, Greg, yeah?
That is correct.
Yep.
That's correct.
Okay. That's all I have.
I think we're good.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, we can move forward with public comment. We will hear from in-person speakers first, and then from the Zoom participants. First, our Planning Commission Administrator will go over the rules.
Good evening. As a reminder for those that are just joining in, the Planning Commission will accommodate public comment in person, by telephone, or virtually. Individuals should call in advance if participating by telephone. Toll-free number is 888-475-4499. The meeting ID is 858-5579-4151. And if you're asked for a passcode, you can use the # sign. Speakers, whether in person or by telephone or virtually, will be limited to 2 minutes as individuals or 5 minutes if they are designated speaker of a group or organization. To mute by using your phone, you can do *6. To raise your hand, you can use *9. If you're using Windows, to mute or unmute, it's Alt-A. To raise your hand is Alt-Y. If you're using a Mac, to mute or unmute, it's Command-Shift-A. And to raise your hand, it's Command-Shift-Y. After being recognized by the presiding official, each speaker shall come forward and state the following information for the record of the hearing: your name, your address, and state whether you're speaking as an individual or for a group.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have first is Ron Clauda speaking on behalf of the American Chestnut Land Trust, followed by Greg Bowen speaking for himself.
Come on up.
I must have gotten here too early. I didn't expect to get lead off tonight, but good evening, commissioners and county staff. My name is Ron Clauda. I live at 1401 Foxtail Lane in Prince Frederick, and I've been a county resident for over 40 years. Love the place. I love Pleasant Peninsula as a moniker for it. I serve on the board of directors of the American Chestnut Land Trust, and as was said earlier, I am speaking tonight on its behalf. The American Chestnut Land Trust owns over 1,600 acres in the Parkers Creek watershed, just south and east of here, and we have more than 750 member families from all over Calvert County. ACLT is very grateful to the current Board of County Commissioners who initiated these changes to the comprehensive plan that we were speaking about tonight. Changes that would stop the expansion of the Prince Frederick Town Center Phase 2, and also the Huntingtown, Lesby, and Solomons Town Centers. I think the commissioners recognize the implication of these expansions on our roads, other county infrastructure, and the environment. County commissioners have also heard from county residents over the past several years who have not wanted the proposed town center expansions from the very beginning. ACLT has specifically expressed concern about the impacts on county streams, wetlands, and steep slopes. We hope that the Planning Commission will join us in supporting the changes proposed by our county commissioners. We respectfully ask you to vote yes and approve the proposed amendments to the comprehensive plan that are the subject of tonight's public hearing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up is Greg Bowen, followed by Frank McPhillips, speaking our Friends of Hunting Creek.
Good evening. I'm Greg Bowen, and my address is 1235 Mallard Point Road, Prince Frederick. I'm speaking as an individual. There are two people who have since moved to Florida who had big plans for Calvert County. They never lived long enough in Calvert to learn of its beauty, resilience, strength as a rural peninsula with the Patuxent on the west and Chesapeake Bay on the east. Calvert's natural assets are proximity to the beautiful deep waterways, to marshes, coves, steep woods, and good farmland. Both had a grow fast scheme. Both pursued it hard, even if the public didn't agree. I think that the Planning Commission at the time attempted to honor their wishes, and I hope that it will honor the wishes of the current Board of County Commissioners now. Calvert had Maryland's first county land preservation program, the first country's transferable development rights program. It was one of the first to cluster lots, the first to stop strip commercial development along main highways and create town centers. The first Secretary of Ag came from Calvert County. And in fact, three out of the 9 Secretaries of Ag have come from Maryland's smallest county. We have a proud planning and leadership history of innovation and creativity. We have good schools and communities, high volunteerism, and kind, thoughtful people. I will say that we've recently hired a couple of planning firms that were not, let's say, good fits for Calvert County and ignored planning principles. Calvert Planning Commission, please approve the changes drafted by staff, then go back to the old planning processes, listen to citizens, and make great plans that utilize and protect our natural assets. Thank you.
Thank you.
Frank McPhillips, followed by Jim Schaefer.
Hi, my name is Frank McPhillips, 1611 Meadow Oaks Lane in Huntingtown, and I'm representing the Friends of Hunting Creek. Members of the Planning Commission, the Friends of Hunting Creek support the proposed amendments to the 2019 Comprehensive Plan, which will reduce the expansion of several town centers in Calvert County. My comments will mostly focus on Prince Frederick, but our concerns go well beyond there, of course. From the beginning of the proposed expansion of the Prince Frederick Town Center, the citizens of the county who live or travel through here have clearly not been in favor of expanding the Prince Frederick Town Center to the extent that was designed and high-density development that would follow. And while development plan was consistent with the strategy to concentrate growth in town centers, there was not adequate consideration of the infrastructure to support that growth, such as the roads to support the increased traffic and water treatment to deal with the increased sewage. There have also not been clear benefits for those who already live in Prince Frederick and the county. There have been demands for affordable housing for many years here, but recent apartment complexes, townhouses, and so forth that we've seen across, along Prince Frederick Boulevard and the soon-to-become Magnolia Ridge and other planned developments nearby do not really address that need. The bulk of the businesses that have been attracted to the area are not really major employers and largely do not contribute to local revenue. They are generally retail or fast food and mostly accessed off the main arterial, that is Route 4, which has made traffic only worse. And it's also well known that the fees and taxes that dwelling units contribute to revenues do not equal the services consumed by the residents. In Calvert County, the shortfall that has been estimated by the county is about $2,000 a year, depending on the type of dwelling unit. So this is not growth paying its own way. There are also serious environmental issues related to much of the lands that were proposed for the Prince Frederick Town Center expansion. The bulk of the properties are rated as not recommended for even light development by the USDA Soil Survey. The nature of our pleasant peninsula, as Ron described, is such that we have lots of steep slopes with sandy soil that lead to severe erosion on our land throughout the county, even under normal circumstances. And sadly, there aren't sufficient resources amongst the county and the state to hold developers accountable for the damage that they inflict when grading and preparing lots for development and not managing the soil runoff adequately. And there's also little to no recourse for pursuing the matter with property owners after build out. And the relative handful of staff versus the square mileage they have to cover makes it nearly impossible. The sediment from all the stormwater that is poorly managed washes out our highly erodible soil along with all the pollutants of various types, including sometimes overflow from the sewage treatment facilities, and it all eventually makes its way to the bay, impacting its health. Growing Prince Frederick Town Center, and really any new development in the county without taking important preceding steps of managing stormwater consistently is only going to accelerate the decline of our most precious resource, the beauty of the land and the water that surrounds us. In sum, we request that the Planning Commission and ultimately the County Commissioners support the proposed amendments to the comprehensive plan regarding the reduction of the town center expansions. We also ask that the county seriously consider evaluating future plan growth with a greater consideration of the lasting negative impacts that may come with it, alongside any perceived financial benefits. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim Schaefer, followed by Susan DeZurek.
Good evening. I'm Jim Schaefer. I graduated from Northern High School in 2006, so I'm a younger demographic. I'm also a home builder. I live in Tracy's Landing currently because there wasn't much available in Calvert County to move back to.
Excuse me, Mr. Schaefer, could you state your name and
Oh.
address for the record?
James Schaefer, 420 Leach Road, Tracy's Landing, Maryland. Are you speaking for yourself? For myself, yes. I was a Calvert County resident for over 20 years. I went through the public school system here. I do build homes in the county, and I field many phone calls from county residents or former county residents that can't move back home, including me, was one of those people. So I think there is a need for some building in Calvert. I think there's a way to do it with smart growth. I don't think you stop growth totally. Most people my age cannot afford to live in Calvert County, and I think it's going to be a detriment in the future to the economics here. So I think everyone needs to take that into consideration, what the economic impact of these changes will be after such a short time of them being instituted. I think that I didn't see any reporting in the paperwork of what the economic outfall would be over the next 20 years. So I think we should take that into consideration, and the younger demographic that needs to come back to the county to support it, school systems and everything like that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Susan DeZurek, followed by Paul Fenton.
Good evening. My name is Susan DeZurek, and I live at 4215 Weeping Willow Lane in Huntingtown. I'm commenting this evening as the Vice President of Calvert Citizens United. Calvert Citizens United is in complete agreement with the town center reductions as proposed by the commissioners, and some of our reasons why are as follows. Throughout the comprehensive plan adoption process, the citizens' input and requests were totally ignored. Case in point, the majority of Calvert's tax-paying citizens asked repeatedly not to expand the town centers. Finally, 4 county commissioners are listening and taking action to right the previous wrongs. We hope this is not a short-lived election campaign tactic, but rather a well-educated change in the county's priorities. 1, citizens asked from the beginning of the comprehensive plan process for the county to follow the American Planning Association best practice protocols. These protocols instruct planners to perform a full assessment of existing conditions. To our knowledge, the county failed to do that with one exception. You hired a contractor to produce a traffic study that contained skewed and inaccurate traffic data about the county's failing intersections in order to support the demands of the builders, developers, and your pro-development agenda. Citizens knew the statistics were untrue and took things into their own hands. After all, they were living the traffic intersection backups firsthand during their commutes. They contacted State Highway and submitted Shaw's empirical data on our intersections to the county, which has been ignored. 2, the county refused to do a cost analysis of the expansions. Once again, taking matters into their own hands, a group of citizens known as Keep Calvert Country, Grow Responsibly, took it upon themselves to research federal, state, and professional planning guidelines, as well as county budgets and plans, identifying the cost that the county is likely to incur. Their due diligence reviewed that the county residents are likely to face cumulative budgeted increases of roughly $500 million incrementally over the next several years. That's $500 million. Their document was submitted to you with my written comments. 3, let me single out the last debacle, the county's proposal to build a poop line from Prince Frederick to Solomons to accommodate the builders' developers' intended build-out. At the January meeting, you approved a budget item of $37,760,000 for this project without knowing or understanding any of its ramifications. After hearing County Administrator Mark Willis's perspective of the project at the March Planning Commission meeting, thankfully the citizens of Calvert Citizens United performed their due diligence by contacting the Maryland Department of Environment. We were told that no application of substantive value had been submitted by the county, that MDE is not a banking institution with $40 million to give any county, and the county's one-page information would not be considered. Through the citizens' own due diligence, we confirmed what we all knew at the first comprehensive plan public workshop. Had the county completed their comprehensive assessment first, they would have included the following as well. Our roads can't handle additional traffic. We can't financially or environmentally afford the costs associated with massive expansions of the town centers. And that includes, but is not limited to, our sewage treatment infrastructure won't handle the population increase as currently planned. Finally, it has been very clear that many of Calvert's citizens are the only ones that have taken the time to perform some of the needed studies with any integrity. The citizens' goal has never wavered from keeping Calvert County the pleasant peninsula for the generations to come, as envisioned by the likes of Senator Bernie Fowler. Calvert Citizens United requests that the reduction of the town centers be approved as requested by the Board of County Commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul Fenton, followed by Myra Gowans.
Commissioners, I'm Paul Fenton. I live at 41580 Suzie Court, Leonardtown, Maryland. I'm the chairperson for the Southern Maryland Association of Realtors Government Affairs Committee. And I have a statement here to read to you that we came up with. On behalf of the Southern Maryland Association of Realtors, representing over 2,000 businesses and members across the region, we respectfully submit our opposition to the proposed amendments to the Calvert County's comprehensive plan. Not only does this proposal move the county backward from its previously established goals, but it also hinders economic development, moves several schools out of the priority funding zones, forces infrastructure sprawl, prices more possible homeowners out of the market, and exasperates the ongoing housing shortage we're faced with in Calvert County. In the Calvert County Economic Development Strategic Plan, updated 2017 to 2022, it was determined that the cost of living in Calvert County is relatively high, saying this is largely attributed to high housing costs. Calvert County's median monthly homeowner costs are approximately 7.5% higher than the rest of Maryland and 40% higher than the rest of the country. These amendments will have a direct negative impact on housing affordability. It will make it more difficult for any potential home buyers to move into Calvert County and increases the financial strain on current residents to continue living in the county. We believe the American dream of homeownership should be available and achievable to anyone who desires and works for it. Unfortunately, many younger buyers who are born in Calvert County are forced to move into neighboring counties because they cannot afford to live in the county where they were raised. Equally important is the impact on the current and potential businesses located in Calvert County. These proposed changes will force county residents and business owners to relocate and engage with more business-friendly neighboring counties. That inevitable loss will result in additional tax burdens on the remaining property and business owners in Calvert County. As housing prices and rents continue to rise, we will continue to see a declining business and personal tax base. Going from low growth to virtually no growth is unwarranted, and as previously stated, will have many economic consequences. The Calvert County citizens and government officials worked hard over many months developing the current plan, and now is not the time to drastically scale it back with no alternatives. People still need a place to start their lives, and we worry these amendments will force more people to start and grow in other communities. Targeting smart growth and expansion in Calvert County town centers is a good plan. Let's keep that strategy. Don't shrink the only places in the county where growth is encouraged. Thank you.
Thank you.
Myra Gowans, followed by David Burry.
I'm Myra Gowans, and I live at 110 Walnut Creek Road in Huntingtown. I'm speaking for myself this evening. And I want to tell you that I am glad that you all are looking seriously and re-examining where the county is right now with regard to the build-out. The build-out is being challenged, and here's two things I want to share with you all. I sat in many of these meetings with you, and a number of issues were brought up, and no questions were asked. You did not ask your builder, developers, or the people who were coming in requesting something. There were no questions asked of any significance. We're talking major sewer, major transportation, AFPOs. We're talking major things here, and none of you all asked questions. And that was very concerning to me and other citizens. As you know, we are in the Supreme Court of Maryland right now. And in probably 4 or 5 months, we're going to have a ruling. And that ruling is going to back up the first level of the first layer of the Supreme Court, COSA. And that means that if and when that report comes back, that ruling, the holding of the Supreme Court comes back, it means that our comprehensive plan was not legally approved on August 5th, 2019, because it was a 2-2 vote, because Mr. McConkey should have recused himself. If we don't make serious changes, have a straightforward plan, and have the citizens, our tax-paying citizens, involved one-on-one with you all, and then go to the commissioners one-on-one, you all are not, we're going to be tied up for another 3 years with a new comp plan. McCord's office, Secretary McCord's office, cannot recognize an illegally approved comp plan. Thank you for your time and your patience.
Thank you.
David Burry, followed by Len Zouza.
I'm David Bury, Kingfisher Court, Breezy Point, speaking for myself. I had an opportunity last week to take a couple days off and attend the Maryland Department of Planning's annual conference for planning commissioners and interested citizens. And I learned something that I had not known before. That is that in the state of Maryland, county planning commissions have the responsibility to ensure that infrastructure costs associated with any planning and land use recommendations are consistent with their county's capital improvement plan. This is directly pertinent to Prince Frederick Phase 2 expansion. In addition, Maryland Department of Planning best practices strongly recommends that cost estimates for any required new infrastructure be included in town center master plans. Unfortunately, County Planning and Zoning chose not to provide cost estimates for the Prince Frederick expansions. In the absence of this, Keep Calvert Country came up with their own cost estimates for the new infrastructure required if Prince Frederick Phase 2 was built out to the full proposed residential densities. That figure was $500 million. It covers the new schools, expanded water and sewer, both new loop roads, and other needed improvements. Now, some of these estimates may be too high or too low, but $500 million is a pretty good ballpark figure. So here's the issue. Virtually none of these costs is included in the current county 7-year capital improvement plan. So unless the Planning Commission can demonstrate to the county commissioners that the new infrastructure costs associated with Phase 2 expansion are consistent with the comprehensive improvement, the capital improvement plan, I don't see how you can, in good conscience, vote to support that expansion. So please, please vote in favor of eliminating Phase 2. Thank you.
Thank you.
Len Zouza, followed by Robin Truslow, who is the last one signed up on the speaker sign-up sheet for in-person.
I did not have time to prepare a written statement to send it in time, but I do have a handout here. May I approach you to give it to either Mr. Mattingly or Ms. Blake Wallace for distribution to the commissioners?
Sure.
Thank you.
I'm Leonard Zouza. I live at 635 Runabout Loop, Solomons. Commissioners, I'm speaking on behalf of myself. Since my since my 2 minutes is so short, I ask you to look at the handout I'm providing you that contains detailed justification for my statements. First of all, I support the proposed amendments to the Calvert County Comprehensive Plan. However, I believe that it has two problems that you need to correct before you approve it. First, the plan fails to provide the data necessary for you to be able to fully evaluate the impact of growth on county infrastructure. The absence of critical measurables prevent you and residents from evaluating the impact of growth on our health, wealth, safety, and welfare. This means that without that data, such as the number, kind, size, and location of residences that could be built under this plan, neither you nor residents can evaluate whether the proposed new major developments will adversely impact our roads, sewage, water, schools, or emergency services. Second, historically, county officials, especially the Planning Commission, has not used comprehensive plan to guide growth decisions. If you were to follow the precedent, this exercise to amend the plan would be a waste of time for all of us. Previous commissions did not use prior plans to manage growth, especially between 2016 and 2020. If you don't modify this plan so that you can use it to guide decisions with additional information, it becomes a meaningless paper exercise that wastes not only your time, but also that of residents and county staff, and also wastes a lot of paper. You do not have sufficient information to finalize the current draft master plan without the measurables you need to determine the impact of future growth on county infrastructure. You cannot make informed decisions of the impact on future growth on county residents. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Robin Truslow, and then we'll go to any online.
Hi, I'm Robin Truslow from 610 Willow Way, Prince Frederick, Maryland, and I'm speaking on behalf of myself. And like Mr. Zuzza, I am also a data numbers person and appreciate having the data. I do feel like we have a lot of data out there. We heard a good bit of it from Mr. McPhillips and some of the other speakers, and I believe that the amendments proposed are solid ones because the current comprehensive plan would really involve quite a lot of expensive infrastructure and detrimental impacts to our environment. So I hope that the Planning Commission does support these amendments. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
That concludes the sign up for in-house.
I do have one Zoom.
Joseph Cormier, we are ready to receive your comments.
Good evening, Madam President, Commissioners, county staff, and those present. My name is Joseph Cormier. I'm at 9201 Sam Owings Place in Owings, Maryland. I'm pretty new to this process, but as we've been going through these meetings, I'm just confused as to why Huntingtown High School is not being kept in the plan, removing it from the funding site for the sole purpose of it might let someone build something on the other side of the street when we can limit that. As far as the reduction of all the southern ones, I completely agree. We just had the state come in and say they're not going to build us a bridge anytime in the next decade. So I can't imagine how building more in the southern end is going to be productive for us when the traffic studies clearly show that we are overburdened in all parts of the county. It's just frustrating week after week and month after month to see this process go through and not get the hard data that the citizens are asking for. So I hope that we can slow down this build process and stop listening to the special interest groups and get back to listening to the people. I hope everyone goes out and votes between now and November 8th. Thank you so much and have a good evening.
Thank you.
J.C. Hooker, we are ready to receive your comments.
Good evening, Commissioners. One of the things I would like for you all to definitely hear all the voices.
Excuse me, Mrs. Hooker, could you please state whether or not you're speaking as an individual and your address?
Oh, I'm sorry. J.C. Hooker, 3854 6th Road, Prince Frederick, Maryland, and as an individual.
Thank you.
May I continue?
Yes, you can.
Thank you. As this evening, I'm a newcomer. I wasn't born here, but I'm a military spouse and brat that have served our country every place. I initially when I came did not understand keeping Calvert, but I slowly began to understand that what you were trying to keep, I want to keep. And those of us that wasn't born here, we want to do the same. But what I don't understand at this time is if the comprehensive plan is our guide, why do we have exception? Why do we make outside of our town centers livable areas that should be considered? It's hard for you to make a decision to say no, but as a newcomer, I say we entrust you as newcomers. We've learned what you want to keep. And we ask that you abide by our comprehensive plan that I have it was hard for me to understand how to understand it. But sometimes you're going to have to start saying no to the things and the growth that are not in our comprehensive plan and that are not for us that are residents of this county. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
If there are any other speakers, please raise your hand now. It looks like there are no other speakers.
Thank you. Thank you. Commissioners?
Need a motion on the changes, is that what?
This is Jenny, if I may. Looking back at the next steps for the Planning Commission, after the conclusion of the oral testimony, decide whether to keep the record open for the receipt of additional written testimony or close the record. Options include A, close the record the night of the public hearing after the conclusion of public testimony, or B, keep the record open for a set amount of time, for example, 1 week, 2 weeks, etc.
Now I have a question.
Certainly, Mr. Toohey.
Is that a two-step process where we would set the date, or could that be done in a single motion? Maybe that, I should be
Mr.
looking the other way. I
Mattingly.
apologize, John.
It could be done in a single motion.
Single, okay, thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
motion to close the record.
To just close the record or?
Tonight, yes.
Okay, and then also to move it forward to the Board of County Commissioners, or?
I think we need to at least
Yeah.
close the record and then go into
and then move
discussion.
forward? Okay. All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Freeland,
Second.
second by Commissioner Toohey. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, record's closed.
The next step for the Planning Commission is to discuss the comments and the proposed amendments, and then decide what action you'd like to take. I believe, Mr. Mattingly, they could take it all at once, or they could take it by town center, perhaps?
Well, it's up to if the commission wants to vote in toto on the proposed changes, they can do that, or they can take each individual item and break it down into pieces. And then at the end, on each piece, they could vote, and then at the end, they could decide whether to send it to the county commissioners. Or you could do it, if the proposal is to your liking and it's what everyone agrees to, they could do it in one motion as well. So however, basically what I'm saying is, however you choose to do it is acceptable.
Thank you. In that case, Madam Chairman, I would like to make a motion that we accept this proposal and forward it to the county commissioners.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Toohey, a second by Commissioner Freeland. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
All right, motion carries.
So I believe that concludes tonight's public hearing. The staff will work, what? The staff will prepare the proposed amendments, forward them to the county commissioners. I believe the planning commission must do a resolution. Mr. Mattingly?
That is correct. One final thing as well. There's one thing and I apologize, this is on me. Even the amendments probably should have a consistency finding, so.
I would amend my motion to say that we find these amendments consistent with the Calvert County Master Plan.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you for your help.
Does your second still stand?
My second stance, yes.
One correction, it's the comprehensive plan.
The comprehensive plan, I'm sorry.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Abstain.
All right, motion carries. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you all for attending this meeting. Please note that the next regular meeting will be held November 16th at 7 p.m. Thank you.